Which one should you visit, the Rainbow Mountain or Lake Humantay? I was asking myself the same question, and instead of picking, I ended up doing both. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video I'm going to compare two famous locations from Peru's Cusco region that are kind of similar, but also very different. To give you a good idea about which place to see, I'll briefly introduce each of them one by one and then give you a comparison based on ease of climbing, fun factor, price versus value, and a lot of other things. So let's start with Rainbow Mountain, also known as Vinicunca, or how locals call it, Montaña de Siete Colores, which is a 5,200 meter tall, stunningly beautiful mountain that is renowned for its vibrant multicolor stripes, revealed by erosion and tectonic activities. Simply put, each color layer stands for a different mineral that Peruvian artisans also use to craft traditional jewelry. And for me, it was a big surprise that Vinicunca is kind of a new sensation, and it was only discovered 10 years ago. Before that, the whole mountain was covered by glacier caps that melted away because of the climate change. But after the mountain got revealed, it became one of Peru's biggest sensations and it attracts over 1,500 people every day. So if you plan on climbing Vinicunca, you must prepare for two things. The first is the huge crowd, and the second is an insane combination of low temperature and strong winds. And even though the glacier caps melted away, the surrounding area still remains freezing cold. However, despite all the negatives, I definitely think that Rainbow Mountain is worth the climb, especially if the weather is free from clouds, because direct sunlight makes the colorful mineral stripes a lot more vibrant. And I remember, when I first posted pictures of this place, many people asked me whether or not I used Photoshop, but the truth is that I just simply picked the day that I knew the weather would be sunny. But now let's talk about Lake Humantay, which is yet another colorful destination. This giant pond is renowned for its turquoise waters gathered from the melting Salkantay glacier, and the same mineral deposits that I mentioned with Vinicunca give this place a very unique gem-like glow. And the view, of course, is further amplified by the surrounding mountains that give this lake a very nice contrast. I genuinely like this place because in comparison to Rainbow Mountain, it was much less crowded. Within my group, I was the fastest climber, so on the day when I visited, I was literally the first and only person on the top, and I could take some amazing pictures. However, getting up here was a little bit risky, and as you see from my face, the lake's high altitude can also cause mountain sickness, which makes it a pretty challenging, but also a very rewarding hike. Humantay is part of the Salkantay trek, a less crowded alternative to the Inca Trail, connecting the most important ruins of the region, and the mountain itself is over 5,000 meters tall, so on the top you can literally walk among the clouds. But now that I've briefly introduced both places, let me give you a comparison of their main differences. First and foremost, because of the terrain and the erosion, Lake Humantay is physically much more challenging to climb, as there you need to cross rivers, walk around waterfalls, and without an experienced guide, you can also get lost toward the top.
It is so steep, I cannot even tell you. But the most difficult part is that you have to walk for 4 hours on pure horse shit. My nose was broken 8 times already, but I can still smell this.
Meanwhile, on the Rainbow Mountain, you pretty much have a straight line to follow, and you just simply walk 3 to 4 hours until you reach the top. So now let's start counting and give 1 point to Rainbow Mountain. However, despite having a straight path on Vinicunca, it's also a bit taller than Humantay, and for me personally, the altitude sickness was much more severe. Plus I also suffered a lot more because of the cold winds. For this reason, in terms of how challenging they truly are, I would actually call it a tie. But there's one aspect where Lake Humantay is a clear winner, as it has the least amount of crowd, especially if you're a good climber and you don't mind waking up early. In that case, you can have the whole lake just for yourself. However, another thing that you might wanna consider is the road trip itself while you get there. And in that case, the way to Rainbow Mountain was super duper nice. Just imagine small, serpentine-like mountain roads with no vegetation, and throughout the whole drive you just see endless mountains and rivers. On the other hand, the opposite is true for Lake Humantay, which kinda started with an ugly road trip. But when it comes to their cost, I can call a clear winner, as I paid the exact same 70 soles for both trips, which equals 20 bucks. And at this point I'm in a bit of a trouble, because I ran out of pros and cons and the comparison ended with even scores. However, I think I can still help you decide which destination to pick if you have time for only one. If you enjoy forests, waterfalls and nature in general, you should pick Lake Humantay because you gonna love it.
Vamos! Vamos!
And if you prefer large open spaces and you like staring into endless peaks and valleys, you should go with Rainbow Mountain. But either one you pick, your starting point will most likely be Cusco, a city where I just spent multiple months, and for this reason I invite you to watch my previous upload, where I talk about life in Cusco from a digital nomad's perspective. If this comparison was valuable to you, please hit like and subscribe to my channel. And if you'd like to hear more about Cusco, make sure you click on this card. Thank you for sticking around all the way, and I'll see you in the next one.